नमस्ते, मेरो नाम हो पुष्पा श्रेष्ठ। म यहाँनिर चाहिँ माइक्रो इकोनोमिक्सको बारेमा च्याप्टर 1 देखि स्टार्ट गर्न गइरहेको छु। म चाहिँ सेकेन्ड इयरको बेहावियरमा पढ्ने स्टुडेन्ट हुँ। अहिले म 23 वर्ष लागिसकेको छु। कोर्स डिटेल युनिट 1 Introduction to microeconomics. Microeconomics concept, scope, use and limitation, and microeconomics concept stock and follow behaviour, equilibrium and disquarium, static and dynamic and analysis. कति अब 1 च्याप्टर स्टार्ट भयो है। 1 च्याप्टरमा चाहिँ के दिएको छ त यहाँ यिनीहरू दिएको छ है। अब म भन्न गइरहेको छु इन्ट्रोडक्सन टु माइक्रो इकोनोमिक्स। अब यसको इन्ट्रोडक्सन दिनु पर्यो मैले। के भनेको छ इकोनोमिक्स इन्ट्रोडक्सन। इकोनोमिक्स इज अबाउट द स्टडी अफ scarcity and choice. The whole economic theory is divided into two parts, microeconomics and microeconomics. Microeconomics and microeconomics. Microeconomics is the study of how individual and societies choose to utilize scarce resources to satisfy unlimited human wants. Such scarce resources compel us to make choice, which is the source of all the problems we study in microeconomics. Households have unlimited limited incomes for satisfying their desire, so they must choose carefully how they allocate their spending among different goods and services. Business firms want to make the highest possible profit, but they must pay for their resources, so they carefully choose what to produce, how much to produce, and how to produce it. The government also works with limited budget, so it must carefully choose which goals to pursue in this way. यो बाटो चाहिँ इकोनोमिक स्टडीज दिस decision made by household farms and government to explain how our economic system operates, to forecast the future of our economy, and to suggest ways to make that future ever better. For the study of economics, scarcity and the manner in which individual and society make choice and fundamental issue. To examine these important issue, modern economics have divided to world economics theories into two parts, microeconomics and microeconomics. These words in economics were first used by in 1933. The terms micro is DERIVED from the Greek word MIKROS, which means small microeconomics. Therefore, studies the economic behavior of individual decision makers, such as a consumer, a worker, a farmer, or a manager. It also analyzed the behavior of individual household, industries, markets, labor, unknowns, or trade association. On the contrary, the term micro comes for the word Greek word macro, which means large. Microeconomics those analyses how national economy perform occurs in microeconomics would examine aggregate levels of income and employment, the level of interest rate and price, the rate of inflation, and the nature of business cycle in a natural economy. In this unit, we will discuss about meaning, scope, uses, and limitation of microeconomics. Beside, we will study about microeconomics concepts like equilibrium and disequilibrium, and the status and the dynamic equality analysis. Concept of microeconomics is the branch of economics which details economic as well as will it studies the as aggregate variables like national income, money, price, level, unemployment, economic growth, etc. Microeconomics is the defined as the branch of economic which deals with economy as a well. In others words, microeconomics is the study of very large economic wide aggregate variable like a national income, money, price, level, unemployment, economic growth rate, etc. Therefore, it is also known as the aggregative economics. Since microeconomics was the propounded by J.M. Keynes, it is also known as the Keynesian economics. In fact, microeconomics is basically concerned with national aggregated aggregate or total values such as national income, aggregate consumption, aggregate saving, total investment, etc. That relates to the well economic. It examines how general price level is determined, and how resources are allocated at the level of the economic system as a well. In short, microeconomics is the study of economic system as a will. Microeconomics deal not with individual quantities but with aggregate of these quantities, not with individual income but with national income, not with individual price individual price but with price level, not with individual output but with national output. Microeconomics is the study of behavior of the economic as will examines the overall level of national output, employers price and foreign trade. P. A. Samuelson. Microeconomics consider the overall dimension of economic life, more specifically macroeconomics concerned with such a variable as aggregate volume of an economy, with the extent to which as its resources are employed, with size of national income, and with the general price level. Gender accurately from the above definition, it can be started that microeconomics is essentially the study of study of it study relationship and interaction between forces that determine the level and growth of national output and employment, price level and balance of payment position of an economy. Since microeconomic specifically of the economy into big lumps, lumps for the purpose of study. It is also called the lumping method. It is also called lumping, lumping method. It explains how the level of income and employment are determined and analyzes the factors that bring about fluctuation in income and employment. It also explains how national income growth over times. Those microeconomics deals with the phenomena related to the level and growth of national income and employments, and variable factors governing their trades. Therefore, microeconomics is also called variable factors governing their trades. Therefore, microeconomics is also known as the theory of income and employment. Features of microeconomics. The main features of microeconomics are as follow. Point number one, it is aggregative economics. And point number two, it is considered with the behavior of the economic as a will. Point number three, it presupposes constant relative prices and give resources allocation resources allocated. It is policy science and normative. Point number five, Mauser, its analysis tool and fiscal policy, taxes, government expenditure and government borrowing and monetary policy, interest rate and money supply. Point number six, it is also called income and employment theory. Point number seven, its objectives are to determine aggregate output, employment, and general price level and their rules, their rate of change. Point number 7 8 point number 8 मा छ it is relative new and relatively new and developed after the publication of Keynesian general theory in 1936 AD. Point number 9 मा छ its principal or main variable and national income, total consumption, total expenditure, total saving, total investing, etc. Scorpio of microeconomics. Scorpio of number point number 1, theory of national income. Point number 2, theory of employment. Point number 3, theory of money. Point number 4, theory of general price level. Point number 5, theory of economic growth. Point 6, theory of international trade. The area covered by microeconomics is called scope of microeconomics. The scope of microeconomics including the aggregate or total economic activities of an economy. The scope of macroeconomics can be explained as follow. Number 1, theory of national income. Microeconomics studies the concept of national income, its different elements, method of measurement, and social accounting. Social accounting refers to the systematic record and presentation of national income data. Number 2, theory of employment. Microeconomics also studies problems related to employment and unemployment. It studies different factors determining the level of employment, such as effective demand, aggregate demand, aggregate supply, aggregate consumption, aggregate investment, aggregate saving, multiplier, etc. Number 3, theory of money. Change in demand for and supply of money have considerable effect on the level of employment. Microeconomics therefore studies functions of money and theory relating to it. Banks and other financial institutions are also part of its study. Point number 4, theory of general price level. Determined of and changes in general price level are also studies under microeconomics problem considering inflation or general rise in price and deflation or general falls in prices are also studies under microeconomics. Number 5, theory of economic growth. Study of problem relating to economic growth or increase in real per capital income from a part of microeconomics. It studies the economic growth of both development and undeveloped economics. Monetary and physical politicals of the government are also studies therein. Number point 6, theory of international trade. Macroeconomics also studies trade among different countries. Theories of international trade, tariff and protection, etc. are subjects of great signification to macroeconomics user or importance of microeconomics. Microeconomics is useful in several ways because it studies about the problems of unemployment, inflation, economic instability, and economic growth. and its measure uses or importance and discussed under the following heading. Number 1 point मा के छ helpful to understand the working of the economy. Microeconomics is indispensable for understanding the working of the economy. It is considered with the study of economic in total or aggregate. It helps to understand how the microeconomics variable behave in aggregate. Macroeconomics variables such as national income, aggregate output, gross saving and investment, national in expenditure, etc. are very essential to understand the working of the economic. Use or importance of microeconomics. Number 1 helps to understand the working of the economic. Number 2 helps in formulating economic policy. Number 3 helps in controlling economic fluctuation. Number 4 helpful in international comparison. Number 5 evaluated performance of the economic. Number 6 to develop and expand the macroeconomics. Number 7 helpful to understand international trade. Number 8 useful in business decision making. Gross अब आउँछ number 2 helpful in formulating economic policy. Microeconomics analysis provides a sound basics for the formula of government economic policy for the removal of poverty, unemployment and inflation must be based upon reliable status of the aggregate variables. Such aggregate variables are studied in the microeconomics. Number 3 help in controlling economic fluctuation. Economic fluctuation like trade cycle, inflation, deflation, etc. need to be handled appropriately in appropriated period to correct them to provide a finite finished भनेको भए हुन्थ्यो finite direction to the economic knowledge of microeconomics is essential. Number 4 helpful in international comparison. Only microeconomics variable like national income, total output, aggregate demand, consumption, behavior and investment partner of different countries and can be easily compared. Those microeconomic provides the necessary information for the international comparison. Number 5 evaluation performance of the economic. Microeconomics is very useful to evaluation performance of the economic. National income is the prime microeconomics variable. It is the barometer. That scales the growth of a country. It analyzes the overall performance of the economic within a given period of time and allow us to compare that performance with the past. National income basically is an aggregate concept. Number 6 to develop and explain the microeconomics. Study of microeconomics is essential for the development and expansion of microeconomics. For example, the theory of microeconomics such as law of demand, law of diminishing marginal utility, margin utility consumption, consumer surplus, etc. Are based on collection of expenses of mass consumption like consumer likewise microeconomics is also useful to understand the behavior of individual units. For example, to understand demand for a product, we need to understand aggregate demand of the economic, which is studied under microeconomics. Number 7, helpful to understand on international trade. The entry world is engaged in international trade, and microeconomics helps to understand international trade structure of a country. Basic microeconomics also helps to analysis behind of international trade as well as designing an appropriate trade policy. त्यसै गरी पोइन्ट नम्बर 8 मा छ युजफुल इन बिजनेस डिसिजन मेकिङ. माइक्रोइकोनोमिक्स इज भेरी युजफुल इन business decision making. The overall economic activities such as national income and employment, aggregate demand and supply condition, fiscal and monetary policy of the government, rate of inflation, etc. Affect business firms. This aggregate of the economy make up overall business environment which affects business decision making. The forecasting of future demand and investment decision are also based on the situation of the economy and its growth process. त्यसै गरी आउँछ अर्को लिमिटेसन अफ माइक्रोइकोनोमिक्स. लिमिटेसन अफ माइक्रोइकोनोमिक्स मिन्स नम्बर 1 मा आउँछ होइन, यी सर्टकटमा भन्नुपर्दा चाहिँ डिपेन्डेन्स अन इन्डिभिजुअल युनिट्स. नम्बर 2 हेटेरोजेनियस युनिट. नम्बर 3 द कम्पोजिसन अफ स्ट्रक्चर अफ द एग्रिगेट इज मोर इम्पोर्टेन्ट देन द एग्रिगेट इट्स सेल्फ. नम्बर 4 मा छ डिफरेन्ट इफेक्ट अफ aggregate. Number 5 limited application. Number 6 ignore the contribution of individual units. In sphere of the growing growing popularity of microeconomics, it is not free from limitation. The limitation of microeconomics are as follow. Number 1 dependence on individual units. Several conclusion of microeconomics are based on the sum total of individual units. In fact, it is not correct because what is true for individual may not necessarily be true for the whole economic. For instance, an individual may save in terms of money, but if everybody start saving, the aggregate demand will fall, causing a reduction in national income. It will result into fall and not rise in aggregate saving. Proof simulation has called it fallacy of composition. According to him, the tendency of excessive generalization on the part of microeconomics is to apply individual expenses to the economic as a whole is not proper. Number two, heterogeneous unit. Under microeconomics, heterogeneous units are studied. These units are measured in different way. It is not possible to expense this unit in uniform numbers or homogeneous measures. Proof Bolding has illustrated this point as follow: 6 apple plus 7 apples, 13 apples. It is a meaningful aggregate. 6 apples for 7 orange, 13 fruits. It is also called meaningful aggregate. 6 apple plus 7 horse. It is a meaning aggregate. The available illustration prove that it is not possible to aggregate and expenses heterogeneous unit in a proper way. Such units are measured in terms of money in economics. However, money value is not the true measure of their value in use. Number three, the composition of structure of the aggregate is more important than the aggregate itself. Microeconomics studies aggregate, but as matter of fact, it is the composition of the structure of the aggregate its inflation and economic more than the aggregate itself. Supposing surprising price level in 2020 and 2021 remain constant, but it does not imply that no change in prices like talks place in 2021. It possible that price of food grain क्या MIGST have fallen in 2021 and that of industries good mind and rises correspondingly, keeping the general price level constant. Those for a proper study of an economic knowledge of the composition of the structure of the aggregate is as much essential as the aggregate itself. Number four, different effects of aggregate. Another limitation of macroeconomics is that it does not study the different economics of an aggregate on different sectors of an economic economy. In other words, macroeconomics tendency has not a uniform effect on all sectors of an economy. For example, rise in price level benefit the trades and the industrial, but the way earning are the loser. The number 5 मा आउँछ Number 5 मा छ limited application. And other limited of microeconomics is that most of the model relating to it only have theoretical signification. They have very little use in practical life. Moreover, it is very difficult to measure. It is very difficult to measure various aggregate of microeconomics. Number 6, ignore the contribution. Economics ignore the contribution of individual units. Macroeconomics analysis theory. Macroeconomics analysis theory light only on the functioning of the aggregate. However, in real life, the economic activities and decisions taken by individual units on private level have their effect on the economy as a whole. Such effects are not known by the study of microeconomics alone. Microeconomics concept, structure, and follow variable. The economics aggregate used in macroeconomics are called macroeconomics variable. These variables are used to evaluate the performance and to analyze the behavior of an economy. The macroeconomics variables are generally grouped under stock variable and follow variable. The concept of stock and follow variable is explained below. Number one, stock variable. The macroeconomics variable which are measured at a point of time are called stock variable. In other words, stock variable are the microeconomics quantities measurable at a specific point of time. In macroeconomics, stock of capital in a country, the number of employer person, money supply, total saving, labor force, business inventories, etc. are measured at a point of time, which are some examples of stock variable. Number two मा के छ अर्को follow variable. The microeconomics variable which are measured or expanded per unit of time are called follow variable. In other words, follow variable are measurable only in terms of a specified period of time. Example, income. Example, per horse, per week, per month, or per year. For example, national income, total consumption, total saving, total investment, total export, total import, etc. are follow variable. Quantitative and then यो पनि भएको है। त्यसपछि अर्को के छ, अर्को त्यसै गरी फिगरमा यो देखाएको छ। यसरी हजुरहरूले हेर्न सक्नुहुन्छ, यसरी देखाएको छ फिगरमा। प्राइस लेभल यो भइगयो, यो एग्रिगेट डिमान्ड एन्ड सप्लाई यो भयो। त्यसपछि यसको यो छ, यसरी बनाउने। त्यसपछि यसलाई यो 45 y इक्वल्स टु सी प्लस आई, यसको सी, यो आई भयो। y भनेको के रहेछ त, एग्रिगेट इन्कम, सी भनेको एग्रिगेट कन्जम्सन, आई भनेको एग्रिगेट इन्भेस्टमेन्ट। यो फर्मुला भयो। त्यसै गरी यो यस्तो छ है। त्यसपछि यो यस्तो छ, समर यो भइगयो। त्यसपछि यो भइगयो, यो भइगयो। क्वेसनको छ अब भोलि। हेलो यु गाइज, नमस्ते नमस्कार। आज मिति विक्रम सन् 2079, 9को महिना, आज 9को महिना 21 गते हो, पुसको महिना हो। साँझ कहिले लगभग 6:45 भएको छ। थ्याङ्क यू सो मच हजुरहरूले टाइम दिनुभएकोमा। शुभ रहोस्, राम्रो रहोस्। बाई बाई, लभ यू सो मच।